yesterday at 1:18 p.m. after walking out of a press conference after telling a reporter that it was the dumbest question he's ever been asked, which, by the way, as somebody who has not spoken to the media that much, believe it or not, a punter is not somebody that the media seeks after games. No matter how far I punt a ball, it's not like, hey, we want to talk to Pat McAfee today. Baker Mayfield has to be put in front of the media. Basically, every day it feels like he is having to talk to the media. And the way they have it set up is very interesting. He's just standing. It's like a scrum almost. It's not like there's any difference where he's sitting up front and they're sitting away from him. There's no separation. They're kind of in his grill almost. And I think the setup of that was almost a recipe for disaster if anything goes wrong anyways, because Baker, I mean, let's argue, he's a combative human. Mm-hmm. The reason why he is where he is because he's a combative human. The reason why he has gotten to the Heisman talk, the reason why he became the #1 pick in the draft after being a walk-on twice, the reason why he's gotten where he is because he's a combative individual. That's what he is, chip on his shoulder. Mm-hmm. So whenever you have him standing like inches away from reporters, who reporters sometimes, by the way, can start popping off a little bit. They start thinking they're a little bit more important than the game. I mean, that's kind of a classic sports reporter MO. It's almost like, yeah, we matter just as much as you do, which I think they could argue. I think without the media, the game isn't the game. He was asked a couple of different things. About the 4th and 16 play call, that whole thing. Well, we didn't want to give the ball back to Tom Brady, he said, which makes sense, by the way.
Yeah.
Then they asked him, well, were you happy with the drive? That was the drive that they did not pick up a first down. They did not score when they needed it. So Baker, for right reasons, says, that's the dumbest question I've ever heard. We didn't score points, and then walks out. The walkout is what looks bad, right? Because he looks like, oh, I'm taking my bat and my ball and I'm going home. But at what point are you just sick of looking at these people that you're sick of talking to, asking you dumb questions? You got to sit there and take it. Now, granted, that is something that NFL quarterbacks have to do. That is something that people who have to talk to media on a regular basis have to be able to do. That is an actual acquired skill to be able to keep your cool, talk to people, give them answers, and then move forward. It's just a part of the job. Baker says everybody wants to hear the truth until they actually get it. I am who I am and always have been. Don't call it emotional when it's convenient and then passion when it fits. I care about winning, so yeah, I'm frustrated. If I was to act like it's okay to lose, then y'all would say that I've gotten complacent. My sense of urgency is at an all-time high, and if I offend anybody along the way, that's too bad. I love this tweet. I love everything about this.
I also enjoyed the tweet. I thought it made a lot of sense after the fact. When you saw what he just did, I thought it kind of level set.
Well, I think
a lot of people would consider doubling down, but I didn't think that.
Well, a lot of people were like, "Oh, he's triggered. He's triggered. You're emotional. You're rattled. You're this. You're that." But it is interesting how everybody always says, "Well, it's a cliche answer. It's a cliche answer." You give this fake answer. Well, he's a cliche machine. He's a quote machine. He's this. He's that. Nobody ever gives a real answer. And then when somebody does give a real answer, whether it's Baker Mayfield or others in the history of sport that have done this, it's always a big uproar. Oh, this guy's arrogant. This guy thinks he's bigger than the team. This guy's this. There's no winning in most of these situations, especially if you're losing. Baker Mayfield's resistance from slapping a dude in the mouth who has been publicly insulting and bashing him for years, tries to poke the bear and cut him off when he's giving answers in a press conference, and then Baker decides to just walk out instead of slapping the guy. Yes, unprofessional walk out of your press conference. Yes, there are other quarterbacks that probably could have handled it in a better manner. Yes, to all of these things where people are like, Baker Mayfield can't handle the pressure, can't handle the losses, doesn't know what it's like. But the particular reporter that asked him the question has been bashing him for 2 years, which is something that this guy is getting a thrill out of the Browns stinking and Baker Mayfield having a bad year. Baker knows that. Baker's tapped in. Baker's young. Baker reads and sees everything. That's what makes Baker Baker. Almost said Baker Bayfield. Not a
Good
bad
t-shirt.
name. Yeah, not a bad t-shirt. Baker has a chip on his shoulder. Those things stack. Whenever somebody says something bad about him, he puts it into the Rolodex and says, this guy, to hell with him. Whenever somebody says something terrible about his playing style, puts it in there, bang, this motivates me. This guy had been bashing him for 2 years. And then in a time where Baker Mayfield's not happy, not excited, he's answering a question, gets cut off by this guy, asks him a dumb question. Instead of punching him in the mouth, Baker Mayfield walks out of his press conference and responds via Twitter. where basically he says, hey, let's not call it emotional when it's convenient and then passion when it works out well. He said everybody wants to hear the truth until they actually get it. I am who I am, and I always have been. I would argue that if Baker was to maintain the Baker of old, there's a chance he kicks that guy in the face. Instead, Baker has matured a little bit, but his play on the field has not been great. Now, whose fault is it? Freddie Kitchens' fault?
Yes.
Wow, I mean, that was a question that
I agree.
I didn't expect an answer. I was kind of you guys are just blaming Freddie Kitchens for this?
Yeah,
well,
I think
Baker's to blame too, but Freddie's definitely a moron. I mean,
whoa.
There's evidence all over the place. They should be trying to execute shorter routes, timing patterns, everything, and maybe run a bit more of a West Coast offense. He's having Baker take 5-7-step drops and getting killed because their offensive line. They finally realized Nick Chubb is the best offensive player on the team, started giving them the ball against Patriots, and they had success when they did that.
Turns out NFL games aren't actually like Madden, where you can just have guys run like 75-yard streaks every single play, and it works out every once in a while. Like, crazy that doesn't actually work in the NFL.
Now, granted, we don't know what happened during the bye week, right?
True.
Mm-hmm. Because they had to play the Patriots, which everybody knows. Patriots makes you play left-handed. They take away your best, blah, blah, blah. So we don't really know what changes have happened for the Browns, other than the fact that the 4th and 11, they had a false start so they could have a 4th and 16, which is a bad decision. Yes, Freddie Kitchens might be in way over his head, but Baker Mayfield has not played well either. So Baker Mayfield has to get kind of walked out in front of this media every day, and he has to answer questions. And they know he has a personality, and he can't just sit back and say, we're going to focus on next week. We're trying our best. He is a guy who runs on emotion. He was born in it. He is okay talking and saying things which most quarterbacks aren't. Most quarterbacks are conditioned since they're children to not say anything to anybody. Don't give away anything. You give cliche answers. We're going to be the first ones in, the last one out. We're going to work hard today. We're going to focus on what we can focus on. We're going to control the controllables. We're going to show up early. We're going to play as hard as we can in between the whistles, and then we're going to get out. All those cliches are the worst answers in the history of interviews, but that's what a lot of people give, because anytime you give real answers, this type of thing happens. You get painted as a guy that can't control his emotions. You get painted as a guy who can't be an NFL quarterback. Baker Mayfield had a little pop-off session yesterday with the press conference with a guy he hates, and instead of punching him in the mouth, just decided to walk out and tweet later, and now the world is uproar, because that's what happens with Baker Mayfield. I think the Browns stink. I assume they fire Freddie Kitchens. Maybe Odell Beckham sticks around. I don't know. He's been maintaining this at a professional level, but I don't know what the future holds for the Cleveland Browns. It could be tough.
Here's a question for you.
Go ahead, Nick.
How long can Baker continue to do this and people keep saying, well, this is what fuels him, this is what makes him play better, because he hasn't played better, and he's been doing this for a couple weeks now?
Winning cures everything. If they start winning, this will all end.
And their schedule gets a lot easier coming up.
Yeah, I mean, they just had to play the Patriots out of the bye week. The NFL did them no favors. I mean, you get a chance to play against a team that prepares as if it's a bye week every single week. I mean, they have double the study sesh than everybody else. I mean, it's just they weren't set up for success there. But if they have success, all this gets covered up. If not, I think Baker Mayfield has enough self-awareness to realize that things aren't going well. If they continue to lose, I think Baker Mayfield will realize that and kind of calm down a little bit. I honestly believe that. I think that. I hope that. I don't know, but he has to. He has to just start winning games.
Does the locker room love this move, or are they indifferent?
The locker room probably hates that guy. We talked to Ike Taylor, the guy that's been bashing your quarterback the entire time. The rest of the locker room hates that dude. Now, granted, that guy falls behind the veil of, I'm just doing my job. I'm just doing my job. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree you're doing your job, but if your job is just to talk trash on somebody and then you expect to show up in front of them and get quotes and ask them questions and be treated in a professional manner, I mean, that's an interesting view of the world. That is a very interesting view of the world. I would assume the locker room hates that guy, but that locker room has a lot bigger problems than that guy. That locker room knows that their head coach has not been putting them in good positions to succeed. That locker room knows that they were supposed to be great this year and they're not. That locker room knows all those things, so it's probably, as soon as that's over, he sends out those tweets, they're moving on to other things. I would think, I would hope, I have no idea.